When a person loves the Lord and loves serving the Lord, and yet the strong feelings for Christ as first love aren't there, what can be done to regenerate those feelings?
I really do believe that memorizing Scripture is a tremendous help toward renewal. I would urge that person to begin a disciplined memorization of some of the passages of the Word that have to do with the Lord and who He is. I would suggest take Psalm 139 and memorize it. Start praying that back to the Lord, and He will begin to refresh and renew your spiritual zeal and your love for the Lord. He loves you more than you want to be loved, and you somehow need to understand that and be able to receive it.
I had that experience at one point, and I think that for me, the lesson from the Lord about it was that while I was having still a quiet time in the morning, my quiet time had lost its joy because it had become almost a structured thing and a duty. And so it was when I came then to the Lord realizing that and was broken before Him in my quiet times in the morning. I don't think that the love for the Lord will disappear if we would have kept that warmth in the quiet time first thing in the morning and talk to God before we talk to anybody else.
I think probably the hesitancy in answering that question is somewhat the answer would depend upon your particular situation, what's brought it about and caused it. There probably is no set answer to that. I've always learned two things that I would give in recommendation. One is you can be honest with God. And I would go to the Lord and say, Lord, based on what I sense your Spirit is revealing to me, I've lost my first love. And just I picture this often in my own heart. When my heart ebbs and flows from day to day and week to week and month to month. And many times before the Lord, I'll just picture taking my own heart out and saying, here, God, take it. I can't change it. And just get honest before the Lord and put it into His hands. And you may have to bring this before the Lord for a few days, before a few weeks. That would be my first thought. Be honest before God. And the greatest way to draw near to God is through brokenness and humility. And if that's the problem, there's where you need to be broken and humble and honest before the Lord. Secondly, I have found in my life that there have been times where in a struggle like a misplacing of love or whatever, that I can't, in essence, using old language, sometimes I can't come through on my own. And so I can bring a couple of dear brothers around me, or if you're a sister, a couple of dear sisters, and share this with them. And I think the Spirit of God often, the passion of God, can leap off of another onto you or be transferred, as the Scriptures teach, from one joint to another joint. And sometimes praying with other brothers and just sharing and confessing and having them pray for you. Their spirit can lift your spirit back to the place of love and a nearness and freshness with God.
It appears to me that one cause of people serving God and yet having lost their love is a failure on their part to recognize the difference between serving God with gifts and serving God with grace. I believe that our church is vastly harmed these days by multitudes of very gifted people who are giving service, they think, to God, but they're not serving God with grace. If you've ever understood the distinction between service out of gifts and service out of grace, it keeps your heart then alert and keen on not losing love. It's a motivating factor. I dare not merely serve God with my gifts. I must have all my gifts saturated by His grace. They cannot be saturated by His grace when my heart is cold toward Him. So there's put within an urgency to have that love revived, so that indeed my service can be under the fresh graces of Christ, not merely out of my giftedness.
I think when this would happen to anyone, it'd be the greatest cause for introspection, being in the presence of the Lord, as to why I'm serving Him. I mean, why would I serve Him with the right motive if I don't love Him? Love is not the feeling, it's the choice. I mean, there's a great trap we can be in busyness But if you don't love him, if it's not, service is not overflow, then it's the work of the flesh. And there's a lot of people, and we've all done it, that have been in the flesh, in the ministry in the past. But if I don't love him, then I can't walk by faith, because faith works by love. And if I can't walk by faith, it's impossible to please him, and everything I do is splendid sin. So I must, when I sense this coldness or lack, I must go to my face, and I think the best thing would be to be still and get in the presence of God and ask him for that rekindling and my cooperation to stir up the gift of God, and to wait until my own heart is warmed and communicated, because certainly he wants us to operate out of love, first of all. So if you don't sense that, I'd say stop.
One must not just leave everything and not do anything more and stop praying, because that's the temptation to do so. But it is necessary to do that which you know to be right, to continue to do it, to keep on praying and keep on reading the Word and keep on seeking God until the breakthrough comes in connection with all these other things that occur.